Valentine's Day. I got you 3 sips of beer, or one
you
giant
really
gulp.
outdid yourself. Thanks.
Actually, that's for me. I got you something else. I got you retro game challenge for the DS.
Oh, dude, awesome. Thank you.
It's great, but you got to watch out for that Dan sock.
So you and Kim are doing something tonight, I assume.
Well, yeah, I wrote her kind of like a cheesy love poem.
Yeah?
It's pretty cheesy. And I went to the farmer's market and got some fresh ingredients and stuff, and bottle of wine, you know. I'm thinking I might cook her up something, which I never ever do.
No shit, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, I might have to like get my cooking coach or whatever for DS just to make sure that I can, you know, produce something that doesn't kill her.
I believe in you.
I think it'll be good though.
Right on.
Yeah. Kim, your special Valentine's Day dinner is ready.
Coming.
I really hope you enjoy this, baby. Cheers, baby. Just try it. It's good. Try the chicken. How is it?
Dry. Weird.
What? The food?
No. The guys.
Sorry.
Not really romantic.
I tried.
It smells delicious.
Shut up, Jason.
Took your damn time. Beckett was admiring the scenery.
We've got trouble. Let's go.
One of my biggest complaints I had with F.E.A.R. 1 was that the environments were either, you know, very generic or there wasn't enough variety of it, and I feel like both of those situations have been kind of remedied.
I mean, in F.E.A.R. 2 it seems like they got like a total of, I don't know, 10 different environments, but they cycle them just perfectly. It's like, now you're gonna be out on the streets that are all nuclear wasteland, and now you're gonna go back into an office, and then we'll come back to that in like an hour from now.
My complaint that I have with it is that there's no storytelling in the environment at all. Like, it looks like a bombed out elementary school, but it looks like an elementary school that wasn't used at all beforehand. Right. You don't really see sort of any of the life that took place before it, and I think that's kind of a missed opportunity to tell the story.
Jay Fresh wanted dead children.
You have all these sort of like haunted house moments in those environments where you are pretty much just walking from one point to the next. and just getting scared along the way. And there's really nothing else you can do other than move forward. And I wish there could have been a little bit more that they did to tell the story other than finding like intel items or like reports to just kind of read off of. It kind of took me out of the game.
A lot of times where Alma will appear, she'll just kind of like pop in, you know. That didn't scare me at all.
It worked
you know,
the first time.
It just.
But that was it.
I mean, and that was kind of in the first game too.
In the school, though, they brought the entire environment alive. There's this hallway that I just remember so vividly. The lights start going down. You're just in this long hallway with all these lockers on the side. Every single locker in the hallway just starts slamming its door open and shut. And it is just very loud. Like the game does a really good job of being quiet and then just exploding, you know? I was terrified in that sequence. I was just like, oh my god, I want to get out of this hallway as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah, everything feels very segregated. You know, like this is going to be a scary section. This is going to be a fight, a soldier section. You know, it's very. I wish that you could have kind of made it a little more cohesive the way those things kind of mix together. But I mean, by themselves, the elements are strong. How'd you guys feel about the combat?
I think it's, for lack of a better word, a solid shooter. People put like Call of Duty kind of on a pedestal. This is how a shooter should feel. And I've heard a lot of good things about Killzone. It's supposed to feel that way in a sense. And I think that this one is another one of those games where the shooting just feels like really, really, really good. Firefights are very satisfying. It has really great weapons, and
they kept like a lot of the cool graphical elements, like especially with like the slowdown effect. If you throw a grenade, you know, and you just see it detonate, you'll see like the actual light, the light be displaced around it. Like that's coming from F.E.A.R. 1,
yeah.
But like I didn't get sick of that.
My favorite thing about the combat, and it's the same reason why I really enjoyed the combat in F.E.A.R. 1, is that it gives you a lot of room to be creative. Every combat area is sort of like a playground for me, and you know, when you see half a dozen guys between you and point B, it's nice to have a variety of options as far as whether you want to use the cover, whether or not you want to do more run and gun with the slow-mo, use melee attacks. That's where I get like the most enjoyment. I feel like it succeeded in doing it just as well as F.E.A.R. 1 did, and probably doing it even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because they have such a creative like array of weapons, and then at the same time, you can carry up 3 or 4 different types of grenades. You could just normal frag grenade, or you could set up trip mines and lure them to you, or you could shock them or light them on fire. Like all those things give you a lot of options as far as how you're going to tackle it.
Destructible cover as well, especially in the powered armor. Your guns are blazing on a certain section. You'll see just like this pluming dust and debris just shooting out from walls, and really, really cool.
You know, when I first used the armored unit, a guy was hiding behind one of the columns, and I just
dusted the column.
Yeah, machine gun fire blew right through it and just took the guy out behind it.
I mean, a lot of times too, there was like obvious ways that they had set up the room where they could flank you or you could flank them.
Yeah.
Like that was a very important mechanic in that.
On the negative side of that, I did feel that in a lot of the areas, I could never get the jump on enemies. Like the minute I would come around a corner, they're right on top of you. And I almost wish there could have been more of an opportunity to sort of take a look at the environment, see the guys that are there and sort of premeditate an attack plan, where a lot of times you're thrown right into it.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. They are psychic soldiers. Dude, so I'm gonna give that one to Monolith.
Okay, sure.
Something actually that kind of surprised me about the game was how gory it was. Like, I mean, that doesn't bother me, but like at the beginning, it's almost comical. They throw all the soldiers at you that I have no idea why, but they have those like gas tanks on their back. Do you know? And you just shoot them once, and all of a sudden you just see like their spine combusting out of them and go flying down the hall, and you're like,
yeah, shotgun is another one like that. The minute you hit them, they just explode into just gore everywhere.
It's almost comical how gory it is. as much as I did really like the shooting, there are times that I felt like, at least on the default skill level, that the enemies take a little bit unrealistic amount of fire.
I agree.
Like, even if you're like doing headshots, sometimes I'd be like lacing them up with headshots and they wouldn't go down for a while, and I'm like, I know you got a helmet, but
right.
I'm just saying. It wasn't as much to me that the ending bothered me because it lacked a climax as much as that it just didn't have a conclusion to it. Like, you had F.E.A.R. 1,
yep.
There was like that second expansion game, like F.E.A.R. Files or something like that, I forget what it was called, and now they have this, and it's like, alright, I just want it to be over. Yeah. Like, I just want the replica thing and all that to be sussed out, but no, it's like, even the ending leaves it like, wait for F.E.A.R. 3, bitches.
I do think that, you know, this game as a whole is a step up from F.E.A.R. 1. I enjoyed it a lot, and it fixed a lot of the things that I had complaints about with F.E.A.R. 1. But as far as first-person shooters in general go, I don't think it's really doing anything that either we haven't played before, which kind of diminishes its value a little bit, but I think if you enjoyed F.E.A.R., I don't see any reason why you wouldn't either enjoy this game or shouldn't definitely get it.
As far as single-player content goes, on the 360 at least, this is probably one of the better shooters to come out in a long time, and
I agree.
It's a good way to get your kicks.
Definitely if you're, you know, looking for something scary.
Oh my god, no way! Come on. Hello? Need to use the bathroom. Number 1, happening now. Get the result. Hello? Hello, hello? Oh, come on! Come on. I got this quarter up. That's my man here. Alright, let's go. Out of here. Come on, Street Fighter. E-Honda, here we go.
That's been so awesome.
I think it's fair to say that F.E.A.R. is actually an important game. You know, Genova Chen and Kelly Santiago from ThatGameCompany, they've always talked about how there's this broad emotional space out there that games aren't exploring, and that their company specifically wants to move things into the sections of the library that people aren't choosing subject matter from. F.E.A.R. is absolutely, I think, their best success at that.
And it's funny because it's kind of the right game that I needed right now, because I'm in the middle of playing Dead Space, you know, and it's just I needed something a little more soothing and relaxing to kind of take my mind off of things. And even just the menu screen that shows the different flowers, it just pitches the right emotion at you to get you prepared for playing the game.
Just the very simple like emotions you do feel after like 5 minutes, like even that is so different from most other games. So it's kind of an immediate success in that way if they're trying to go for other emotions.
I think too, for me, I actually intentionally avoided all coverage of F.E.A.R. I didn't play the preview build. I didn't want to, because like I heard about the concept and I'm like, that sounds really cool. I want to be kind of surprised by it when I first play it. Because my first experience with it was like, oh god, it's 6-axis. This is gonna suck. I hate 6-axis controls. Like, please no. But you know, as I got the hang of it, I'm like, wow, this is really good. If this had been released when the PlayStation 3 was launched as a demonstration of what the 6-axis could actually do, I think we'd be seeing all kinds of different games that use it at this point.
It's funny because when I was playing it, I was thinking, you know, and I really like 6-axis controls, and I could think of 6 games where I really, really like the controls in them, but I agree with you. I feel like this is just such a masterful use of that. You know, that simple thing of like pressing button to go forward and moving the 6-axis controller to go where you want to go is so easy to do, and I really appreciate the polish in the mechanics.
Yeah, and I like kind of one basic distinction for me, which I'm surprised more like reviews aren't mentioning, is that for me, it's like you're controlling the wind, you're not controlling the flowers.
Oh, definitely.
And even feeling that kind of like degree of separation, like you're pushing these things through the environment, like that alone is a touch that I think is really satisfying. Not just playing as a pedal that you're like literally moving with an analog stick, like up, down, left, and right.
I think that's where the real artistry of the game comes from. On a base level, to me, like when I first started playing, I'm like, okay, this is kind of like Pilot Wings. So to me, it's like, the artistry is the fact that they took this like kind of base mechanical idea and they just thought, you know what would be a good idea for this? Flower petals. And it's like, how do you even make that connection?
The specifics of the gameplay change up a lot, even within single stages, but definitely over the course of the entire 6-stage game. When you start out in the first area, it's pretty open-ended. It's a like wide open field, and there are a few spots that are of it, that you would look at and you would say, oh, that looks interesting. But you'll go over and explore those as a gamer. And then you go into a stage like Stage 2, or even better, Stage 4, which is the nighttime stage. It shows you how to do every single aspect of that stage completely. Draw a circle here, fill in this pond thing. Like, the camera pulls out and shows you how to do it all ahead of time. And that bothers me especially in that stage because I feel like it kills it in the replay value of it. Like, that stage isn't as fun for me to go back and play as on any of the other stages.
You might need like a tips you can turn off so that...
That's exactly what I want. I want to just be able to like turn off tutorials and have it never take the camera away from me at all, essentially.
Yeah, those were the parts I actually didn't like, where it would pan to something and then pan back and it just kind of be like, you go that way now, kind of thing. I mean, I understand why that stuff is there. I understand why they have to pull back the camera, because they have to give, some people need that sense of reward. Like, look what you just did, isn't that awesome?
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, there were some parts that were a little bit too jarring for me, and it does make it a little annoying to kind of go back and play through it. But I had so much more fun playing through it the second time, because then I kind of felt like, hey, you don't have to go and get every single flower. I mean, I'll do that, but you can kind of relax. Now that I know how to use the 6-axis a little bit better, I can kind of play this level the way that I want to.
I think the most satisfying way to kind of balance it, like wanting to be thorough and wanting to just feel like kind of this acceleration and this satisfaction of like moving through the wind and everything, is to just kind of take multiple passes through the level. And I feel like a lot of attention was paid to the level design, but it's very subtle while you're actually playing what that does for the gameplay experience.
See, I would argue that you're right, especially in terms of the windmill stage. It's obvious just in that last section where you're where all the final windmills are turning on. If you get like 3 like big passes back and forth through this large swath of flowers, and even when you're going through it, if you see like, oh, I missed one over here, once it pulls the camera back and does the little animation, if you go back and look, all those flowers are already grown for you. Like, it's clearly meant to, in that stage, it's fast. You want to move really fast and take these quick lines. That's why they have all those connecting paths that anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, that also is kind of the narrative arc where it like starts very, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about a lot of spoilers here, but like, it starts very, airy and relaxed, and then it gets, gets darker, and there's that kind of moment in the third level or the fourth level where things just change, like where the light, the one light like starts a little fire, and the music changes, and you're like, oh god, what's happening? And then from there it gets very dark before it opens back up at the end.
But how cool is it though that this game even has a narrative? If you want to pay enough attention to the poetry of the way that it's put together, it's interpretable in several ways. I mean, some of it's kind of heavy-handed and obvious, but there's other things that I think are a lot more subtle and that could be up for debate. And that's super compelling to me, because when I first started the game, I thought of it as just being this kind of experience. And I was really surprised about that really dark, brooding second to last level, because it wasn't what I expected at all. And when I first got into it, I was thinking that I didn't like it. I was enjoying my other experience of Flower so much, and it was so freeing. But then once I got into the stage after it, I felt that was a really important stage to the game, and it created this narrative arc that not only was I not expecting, but that became really fulfilling and satisfying at the end, and it kind of clued me into the overall metaphor of the game in a way that I don't think I would have necessarily understood otherwise.
I think they could have made the environment like the dark, depressing part and kind of brought that in without affecting your character directly. I mean, or your character. And I think, like you said, it is necessary in the arc to have it be really,
That's actually
really
my favorite stage. I mean, I feel like I kind of got the idea that Flower was going to be able to do this really like highly saturated, fast, fun, pretty, plucky piano music sounding like Takagi Masakatsu or something, like it was going to be able to do floating around in joy, and that would at least be somewhat rewarding. But especially that 5th stage, instead of like swooping fast through everything, you're asked to go very slow, unless you're just not at all caring about how many times you hurt yourself. You're getting atonal notes rather than tonal ones, and so the song doesn't come together the same way it did. It feels kind of broken and disjointed. A lot of people were saying that that the final stage of Flower reminds them of Area 5 from Rez. I mean, I get where they're coming from, because the final stage is where it all seems to come together, and where obviously the biggest payoffs are there. I would argue that the freeway moment may be the most fulfilling single part of the entire game for me personally, but you're right, you need all those other stages to make the whole thing work. Whereas in Rez, when I go back and play it, like I might just play Area 5.
Happy and uplifting isn't something that you normally expect to get from a game. When I think, oh, I really need to relax and chill out and just kind of let things go for a little bit, I don't think I'm gonna go play a game. Developers,
please make games that use the whole range of human emotion.
Yeah.
We're ready for it.
This game is important for me because it shows how important digital distribution is. This game would have never happened at retail. There's no chance.
Yeah. Hopefully our industry progresses to the point where there is, at least those emotions are coming through. I think there's obviously room for that, and I don't know. I hope you're wrong.
Yeah, I hope we see kind of a blending, sort of this typical mainstream game, but there are elements in it that are similar to something that you would find in a game like Flower. It's kind of sad in a way, because that you wouldn't really see this game in a store, but I'm thankful that stuff like this exists and that these companies have opportunities to make these kind of games still.
So also in full disclosure, I'm starting work at Sony next week. But I'm really glad that a game like this, where it's like, I'm kind of known as like a artsy game guy and downloadable game guy. So I'm glad that, maybe my final appearance talking about games with you guys on co-op, hopefully not, but maybe like is talking about a game like this.
I'm sorry. I just thought I should tell you I'm sorry.
About what?
I know that since we started the company, it's been having our house be our office has been pretty...
Yeah, it's weird.
Awkward? Yeah. I know. I'm sorry about that.
It's like I come home from work and, you're working and they're all over the place. And I feel like I can't even get a moment to myself.
I know.
Or just alone with you anymore. It's really stressful for me.
Well, I can tell you that at least it's temporary, It won't be that much longer, and then we'll have something figured out, and then the guys will be able to spend more time at their own homes,
That would be nice.
It's gonna be okay, I promise.
It better be. Good night.
Good night, baby.
Good night, Rob.
Good night. Good night, buddies. Night, buddies.